The desert night erupted in fire. For a moment, the sky looked like it was tearing open. Something burned across the stars, leaving a streak of blue-orange flame behind it. The crash came seconds later, a thunderous impact that rattled the windows of Kai Thorne's isolated workshop in the Nevada wastelands. Kai froze, one hand still inside the engine of a gutted Humvee. His fingers tightened instinctively around the wrench, jaw locked tight. Nothing ever happened out here. That was the point. 3 years since discharge, 3 years since blood in the sand and comrades in body bags. 3 years of silence, scrap metal, and solitude. Until now. He shut the toolbox with a bang, grabbed his flashlight, and slung the old service pistol from under the workbench across his belt. Old habits. Military habits. They didn't die. They just waited. The scrapyard stretched behind his workshop like a twisted metallic graveyard, hulks of cars, ship fragments, tangled steel. And now, something new had joined them. Kai moved swiftly, boots crunching dry gravel, flashlight beam darting ahead through the desert dark. The scent hit first. Ozone. Scorched earth. And something else, something sharp and unnatural that made the hair on his arms rise. He found the crater by instinct. The impact had dug deep into the desert floor, carving a smoking bowl into the sands. At its center was the wreck, a shape half buried, metal gleaming with an iridescent sheen that seemed to pulse in the dark. It wasn't earthly. No rivets. No welds. Smooth panels of some unknown alloy, veins of crystal glowing faintly along its curves. Kai had seen military black projects. This wasn't one of them. He stepped forward. The hull hissed, venting steam or gas, and a flickering panel glowed dimly. Symbols shimmered and disappeared. Then a sound stopped him. A cry. Soft. Human. Kai's breath caught. He moved faster, dropping into the crater. One section of the wreckage bulged outward, splintered like something had forced its way through from the inside. He pried the metal open with the wrench. Inside was a cocoon, translucent, pod-like, barely intact. Within it, a child. An infant girl. She looked human. Soft skin, fine dark hair, small limbs curled against herself. Her chest rose and fell with weak, rapid breaths. But her eyes opened. And Kai felt the breath leave his lungs. They were luminous. Not glowing exactly, but deep and endless, silver-flecked like galaxies reflected on water. They looked through him. And something ancient moved in that gaze. She reached out, trembling. Kai's hand moved on its own. The moment his fingers touched hers, the crying stopped. Silence wrapped around them. And then, a deep metallic groan shuddered through the wreckage. Something inside was failing. Hell, he breathed, scooping the infant up with one arm. She barely weighed anything. The cocoon began to collapse behind them, fracturing inwards with a sound like grinding glass. Kai scrambled up the crater just as the wreck imploded into itself, a cascade of silent destruction that left nothing but ash and fractured glass metal. Under the harsh lights of his workshop, Kai laid the child on a sheet-covered workbench and examined her. She looked normal now. Pale skin, normal eyes. No sign of the cosmic shimmer. If not for the pod and the crash, he'd have thought she'd been left at his gate by some desperate parent. He paced the room, rubbing his face. Think. Authorities? No, questions he couldn't answer. Scientists? Hell no, she'd vanish into a lab forever. His gaze returned to her. She was sleeping now. Peaceful. Vera, he muttered. The name came unbidden. It felt right. A name like starlight and steel. She stirred at the word. Her small hand clenched. Kai exhaled. So be it. Guess you're stuck with me, kid. 16 years later. Vera Thorne moved through the scrapyard like she belonged to it. Like the twisted engines and scorched plating whispered secrets only she could understand. Her hands ran over metal like a piano player over keys, seeking, testing, knowing. She found the faulty alternator behind a rusted truck cab, eyes narrowing. "Dad," she called, brushing wind-blown hair from her face. "That Mustang part? It's not broken. Copper wires just need realignment." Kai looked up from the generator he was calibrating, wiping sweat and grease from his brow. She had the gift again. That eerie, brilliant instinct. She saw through machines. Saw how they worked, how they failed. Like the metal talked to her. He was proud. And terrified. "Good catch," he said, trying to sound casual. He watched her return to work. Tall now, strong. Hands skilled, eyes always a little distant, like part of her was still out there, among the stars. Lately she'd been quiet. More than usual. Nights she didn't sleep. Mornings she awoke with memories she couldn't explain. And there was Jackson. The roar of a bike engine cut through the desert silence. Speak of the devil. The kid pulled up in a spray of dust, goggles perched on his head, hair a wind-tangled mess. He dismounted smoothly. "Hey beautiful," he called to Vera, who rolled her eyes but couldn't suppress a smile. Kai grunted. The boy had guts, showing up uninvited every week. Probably didn't even need spare parts. "Find anything good today?" Jackson asked. Vera held up a circuit board, edges gleaming. "From that wreck Dad dragged in. Near perfect." Their fingers brushed as he took it. Static leapt between them. Vera gasped. A flash. Not a memory. A vision. Massive starships adrift in space. Spires of crystal crashing. A city burning. And a voice, calling her name, not Vera. "Kester. You okay?" Jackson asked. She blinked. Her heart pounded. "Yeah. Just tired." But the name echoed still. Dinner that night was silent. The old trailer groaned in the wind. Kai watched Vera pick at her plate. "Jackson again?" he asked. She looked up, surprised. "It's not that. It's dreams. Visions. Places that feel like memories, but they're not mine. Cities in the clouds. People who look like me. And battles. Stars dying." Kai set his fork down. Carefully. This moment had loomed for 16 years. "You think you're not human?" She hesitated. "I don't know what I am. But I don't feel like I belong here." Kai reached for her hand. Hers trembled. "You're my daughter. No matter what. Nothing changes that." But in his gut, he knew. Everything was about to change. That night, under a starlit sky on a hill above the yard, Vera lay beside Jackson. Their hands entwined. "Tell me about flying," she whispered. He smiled. "Freedom. Nothing but you and the sky. You ever want to try?" "I think I was meant for more than sky," she said quietly. Then, "Jackson, my eyes, are they different?" He turned to look. And froze. "They're glowing," he whispered. She sat up. Panic rising. "Whatever this is," he said quickly, grabbing her hand, "whatever you are, I don't care. I love you." And the stars wept fire as 3 black ships descended beyond the horizon. The first ship landed without sound. Just beyond the hill where Vera and Jackson had watched the stars, the air shimmered and cracked like heat waves, and then the ship appeared, sleek, black, angular. It hovered above the scrubland for a heartbeat before lowering with such precision that not a grain of dust stirred. Jackson yanked Vera to her feet. "We have to get back to your dad. Now." They ran. Feet pounding earth, hearts pounding ribs. Behind them, two more vessels slipped into visibility. Vera didn't look back. Kai was already outside the trailer by the time they skidded into the yard, his rifle loaded, stance squared. His eyes narrowed as he saw the ship settle like vultures. Inside, he barked. But they were too late. The air shimmered again, and they came. 3 figures. Tall. Elegant. Humanoid, but wrong. Their armor moved like living oil, colors shifting with the light. Their faces were symmetrical to the point of unnatural perfection, eyes black as obsidian. Their leader stepped forward. Kester Vex Allen, he said, voice resonant and deep, with harmonics that made Vera's bones ache. You have been found. Vera stepped in front of Jackson. Something inside her stirred. Metal in the yard began to hum. My name is Vera Thorne, she said. But her voice trembled. You are heir to the Astral Empire, the being said, stepping closer. Your blood sings the old songs. Come. Fulfill your birthright. Like hell she will, Kai snapped, raising the rifle. It fired. Blue light surged. And dissipated harmlessly before it struck. The leader raised a hand. Metal around the yard bent unnaturally. Kai stumbled. But Vera screamed. Not in fear, in fury. The scrap heap erupted. Sheets of steel, rusted frames, engine blocks, they rose into the air like feathers. Vera's eyes burned with white fire. You want me? Her voice echoed like thunder. Then earn it. It was chaos. Jackson dragged Kai behind cover. The aliens moved like dancers, weapons cutting arcs of light. But Vera was everywhere. Metal bent to her will. Old exhaust pipes turned into spears, car doors into shields. In minutes, it was over. 2 ships destroyed. 2 of the 3 aliens dead. The leader stood alone, bloodied but upright. You have awakened, he said. But this is only the beginning. The hegemony will come. And when they do. He vanished in a flash of light. Smoke hung over the yard. Silence returned. Kai sat against a burned-out truck, breathing hard. You okay? Vera stood amidst the wreckage, shaking. No, but we need to go. Jackson helped Kai up. Where? Anywhere they're not, Vera said. Kai nodded. We run. We plan. We fight. They left that night. No bags. No goodbyes. The scrapyard behind them still glowed with embers. Ahead lay roads that twisted into darkness. Vera looked once more at the stars. They no longer looked like dreams. They looked like a war waiting to begin. 3 months later. They're here. Kai's voice was grim as he looked through a cracked lens at a distant ridge. Black ships silhouetted against the sky. The old mining facility in the Montana Rockies had held them for weeks. Quiet. Cold. Perfect for hiding. Not anymore. Jackson loaded a fresh cell into the plasma rifle. Vera closed her eyes. We can't keep running, she said. What do you suggest? Kai asked. Take the fight to them. With what? She opened her eyes. They glowed faintly. With everything I am. He stared at her. Then nodded. Then let's make them bleed. The mining facility became a fortress. Not in the traditional sense, there were no walls or watchtowers, no battalions or artillery. But there was preparation. Kai and Jackson fortified entrances with salvaged steel and electromagnetic fields powered by makeshift generators. Vera carved runes into the walls, symbols from dreams that seemed to carry weight in the physical world. They didn't know what they did, only that the enemy hesitated near them. But they needed more than defenses. They needed people. They're scattered, Kai said, pulling a cracked tablet from a gear-stuffed duffel. Refugees from that empire of yours. Some came down decades ago. Others crash-landed. Hiding in places like Alaska, Mongolia, Argentina. Then we find them, Vera said. We find them all. Her name was Leary. She lived in the ruins of an old observatory in the Patagonian mountains, surrounded by star maps she had drawn by hand. Vera found her by following a trail of whispered symbols carved into ice. You came, Leary said. She was thin, silver-haired, with eyes like fractured crystal. They said you would return. I didn't believe. But I hoped. I need your help, Vera told her. The hegemony has found Earth. They're not here for me anymore. They're here for everything. Leary bowed her head. Then you need more than me. You need the singers. The shapers. The ones who still remember. And so they went. In Kazakhstan, they pulled a silent woman from beneath a mountain temple, where her touch could still shape raw stone. In the Arctic, they found a child who controlled magnetic fields like water. In the ruins of Detroit, a trio of street kids who could speak to machines. Vera watched each one join them. Not because she ordered, but because she believed. And because they believed in her. This is Colonel Malik, Kai said one cold morning as a military-grade crawler emerged from a mist-covered ridge. Ex-Black Ops. He doesn't scare easy. Malik was tall, dark-skinned, with a voice like iron and a stare that dissected. You're the alien queen, then, he said bluntly to Vera. No, Vera replied. I'm the girl who's going to get your planet back. Malik smiled. Then let's get to work. Training began. Kai taught survival. Jackson taught flight. Malik drilled tactics into everyone, alien or human. Vera led them. Not by power. By presence. Sometimes, in the dark, she still doubted. Saw herself as that scared girl in a scrapyard. But the people around her didn't see her fear. They saw fire. You still love her? Kai asked Jackson one night as they repaired a collapsed comms tower. More than ever, Jackson said, tightening a bolt. You ready for what that means? Jackson looked at him. She was never meant to survive. But she did. That means she was meant to change something. Maybe everything. And I'm not letting her do it alone. Kai nodded. Then we'll stand together. Whatever comes. Far above them, in orbit's shadow, the hegemony prepared. And on Earth, in a mining facility that had become a beacon, the rebellion waited for the stars to fall. The assault came under a veil of starlight. From orbit, the hegemony descended in silence. Their ships were like blades of obsidian, cutting the sky as they fell. Energy fields shimmered in the upper atmosphere, disrupting satellites and darkening power grids. Over the Andes, the sanctuary base trembled. Incoming, Malik snapped. Elevation drop detected. ETA 90 seconds. Vera stood on the outer ridge, wind snapping her cloak like a banner. Her eyes reflected the falling fire. Around her, dozens of gifted exiles, children of stars, like her, took positions among the fortified plateaus. Kai leaned heavily on a modified rifle. He'd been wounded in a skirmish 3 days ago, a deep plasma burn that refused to heal. Vera wanted to order him to the med tent. He refused. You don't get to fight this without me, he said. She kissed his forehead and turned away before he could see her eyes glisten. Jackson approached. His flight armor was scuffed but intact. A glowing emitter hummed on his back, a prototype jump rig he'd helped engineer. You ready? He asked. No, Vera said honestly. But I'm going anyway. He took her hand. They stood that way until the first wave hit. The sky shattered. Ships screamed into view, their hulls burning through the upper atmosphere. Anti-air cannons roared from cliff emplacements. Malik bellowed orders. Lightning danced across mountaintops as energy shields collapsed under kinetic force. And then they landed. The Hunter Prince returned. He stood taller than before, armored in something that moved with him like skin. His gaze found Vera instantly. "You do not belong here," he said, stepping forward over broken stone. "You don't get to decide that," Vera replied. "I offered integration," the prince said. "Peace through unity. You chose resistance. I chose freedom." He raised a hand. Dark energy pulsed. And Vera flew. Metal rose around her like a living shield, swirling into a battle form that encased her body. Her voice echoed across the mountain. "This is our world. We make the rules." What followed was no battle. It was a storm. Gravity broke. Wind screamed in vertical torrents. Plasma bolts turned air to glass. Vera moved like a blade of will and fury, bending space in brief flashes of control. She struck with waves of kinetic force, shaped matter, diverted energy beams with bare hands. Around her, Malik led squads of hybrid fighters, alien and human. Jackson soared above the battlefield, dive-bombing ships with improvised explosives. And then, disaster. Kai fell. A shockwave tore through the lower platform. Vera turned, screamed his name, but the ground collapsed beneath him. Fire. Smoke. She landed beside him moments later, metal tearing away from her limbs. He coughed, bloodied, smiling faintly. "You're winning." "Shut up," she whispered, cradling his head. "Make it mean something, Vera. Make it last." His breath slowed. And stopped. Something broke. Not grief. Not rage. Conviction. She rose. The mountain shook. Around her, allies stumbled, retreating. "No," she said. She reached out with both hands. Every piece of metal across the battlefield lifted into the sky. Hovercraft. Rifles. Broken plating. Even bones. They formed a spiral, a halo. Her body pulsed with white flame. "You want a queen?" She hurled the spiral forward. Ships shattered. Soldiers fell. The Hunter Prince staggered, armor burning. Vera landed before him. "You took my home. My people. My father." She drove a lance of energy into his chest. "I take it back." He fell. The mountain roared. And the world watched as Kester Vex Allen, born of stars, raised in steel, stood victorious. The fire in the Andes died to embers. News of the battle spread like solar flares across the globe. Footage captured by satellites, drones, even stunned soldiers filtered through back channels and resistance forums. For the first time, humanity saw what Vera Thorne, what Kester Vex Allen, truly was. Not a girl. Not a weapon. A queen. And the galaxy took notice. In the days after the battle, survivors combed the ruins of the sanctuary base. Malik coordinated relief teams. Jackson led shuttle runs to retrieve injured allies. Vera stood atop the highest plateau, her cloak torn, her eyes dimmed from exhaustion. Kai's body had been buried beneath the oldest tree on the ridge, marked only by a blade driven into the stone beside it. "We lost good people," Malik said quietly, standing beside her. "But we gained something, too. Your people have begun arriving. Not just the ones on Earth. Ships are slipping through the hegemony's outer blockade. Whispers of hope. They're following you." "I'm not ready to lead a war," Vera said. "No one ever is," Malik replied. "But you're doing it anyway. That's the difference." That night, Jackson found her alone in the observatory ruins. The stars above seemed closer now, as if listening. "What are you thinking?" he asked, sitting beside her. "About Luminera," she whispered. "The empire we lost. The one we can still rebuild. But not alone. She turned to him. You don't have to stay. You didn't ask for this. You think I came all this way just to leave? He smiled. I loved the girl in the scrapyard. I love the queen on the mountain. You are the same. Only brighter. She kissed him. Long and slow. And for a moment, the war faded. A week later, the call went out. Kester Vex Allen stood before a crowd of thousands, refugees, freedom fighters, soldiers, survivors. Some wore armor. Some robes. Some nothing at all but defiance. Behind her, a massive vessel hovered, its hull emblazoned with the crest of the old astral empire. I was never meant to survive, she said, voice echoing across the crater. I was meant to vanish in fire and metal. But I lived. And because I lived, we fight. Not just for a world. But for all worlds the hegemony has taken. For every voice silenced. For every child hidden. For every dream buried. Her gaze swept the gathered. We take back the stars. One system at a time. The crowd roared. Jackson stepped beside her, armor gleaming, hand clasped in hers. Fleet Formation Delta, Malik's voice echoed through the comms. We're green across the board. All systems online. You ready, Commander? Vera asked. Born ready, Your Highness, Malik answered, with the faintest smirk. She turned toward the rising dawn. Then let's bring the fire. From Earth's orbit, the ship broke into light. From starlight to steel, she had been forged. And now, she led an army of exiles into the dark. Not to survive. But to win. The end.